Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just Rusty. I am here with is it? Well, I think right now it's Just Rusty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Little Rusty. It was called Just Rusty, but we are switching it to Little Rusty. I apologize. We were a little bit mixed up on what the name would be. But with that said, we are talking about more Luka Doncic stuff. I thought about making this a second channel video, but I realized that I probably don't have enough to say about it, and I don't want to beat the Luka horse too much. It's not quite dead yet, but it will be if I keep beating it. So let's talk about the two trades that allegedly almost went down. Now, for what it's worth, this is being reported by somebody that I do not think is the most reputable necessarily, just because I don't really trust anybody to be all that reputable in the trade reporting department, besides for Shams, because Shams has a fucking monopoly on it. But with that said, the reported trade is that the Bucks were offered Luka in exchange for Giannis, and the Timberwolves, it was apparently Anthony Edwards, and both teams declined. And I want to talk about that because it's very interesting in terms of especially the position the Bucks are in. And everybody loves a what if, everybody loves a hypothetical. So let's just imagine the world where one of these trades may have gone down. So the Giannis for Luka swap, first of all, as weird as Luka does look in a Lakers jersey, I feel like he would look even weirder in a Bucks jersey. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. My eyes truly could not compute that. So obviously with the Bucks right now, there's a lot of uncertainty about their future. They just had a very odd trade deadline where they swapped Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma in a money-saving effort, which is not exactly something that you do on the cusp of a team that you think is going to be competing for a championship. So it feels like internally they're not all that confident that they can compete for a championship. And with Giannis being a couple of years removed from free agency and him historically doing this thing where he's like, look, I like the Bucks, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm guaranteed to be loyal here. He always has one comment or another where he makes sure to light a fire under the Bucks front office to get them to do something. Obviously, this ended up working in their favor in 2021 when they added Drew Holiday. Didn't so much work in their favor with the Dame trade thus far, but, maybe it'll work out. Just doesn't look like it's going to. So it makes sense that Giannis could potentially be on the market, could potentially be out of Milwaukee at some point. However, they clearly do not feel as though the future of the team is murky enough for them to make the swap for Luka. Not to mention, it's not exactly like Luka is just guaranteed to stay in Milwaukee, especially because if they don't have the assets to make a Giannis core work, don't have enough picks, don't have enough actually good, valuable players, enough tradable contracts, well, then they're also not going to have that for Luka. So Luka, who is also around the corner going to be a free agent, all you would really do is probably piss off your fan base to some degree and then just lose Luka over a very short window anyways. So on that front, I kind of understand passing that up. At the very least, Giannis has expressed some sentimentality for the Bucks and has a history there. Obviously, there is at least some level of thing keeping him tangibly in Milwaukee, but none of that exists for Luka. So I understand why the Bucks turned that down. Damian Lillard and Luka you're not that confident in that core being good enough. Not to mention how bad your defense would immediately get. I love Luka, but he's obviously no Giannis on the defensive end. And Brook Lopez is a million years old. You no longer have Drew Holiday. I just don't think this team would work at all. So I understand why they passed up on it. What's interesting to me is the Timberwolves of it all, because Anthony Edwards is 23 years old. It's not a huge age gap between him and Luka. It's about 3 years, but he does have more of a long-term contract there. He also has more, again, invested with the actual franchise that could conceivably be leveraged into him actually staying with the team that drafted him. So, again, you could just very well be shooting yourself in the foot and saying, yeah, we'll trade for Luka Doncic, but how long is he going to be here? Probably not all that long. Now, for what it's worth, There is a similar discussion being had about Luka and the Lakers, because who knows how loyal Luka actually ends up being to the Lakers. He's obviously been all smiles on the bench. He obviously seems to get something out of playing with LeBron. That doesn't surprise me at all, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that that's what he envisioned for the future of his career. Obviously, he envisioned being a Dallas Maverick for his entire career, and that didn't work out. So what he actually wants is pretty up in the air. There's been a lot of people speculating on the idea that he would eventually go over to Denver to play with Nikola Jokic, because obviously they are very buddy-buddy. If that did happen, everyone's fucked, for what it's worth. Those two players on the same team is pretty much going to be the end of the championship conversation for a prolonged period of time, so long as health permits and the players that would be around them would be good enough. But very interesting that this almost went down. Something that I know if you're a fan of either the Bucks or the Minnesota Timberwolves, you will be thinking about that in the future. Especially if Giannis is gone in 2 years, you might be being like, damn, maybe we should have tried to swing the Luka trade and see what happens. I don't know, though. I've seen a lot of people joking about this, that given how low ball of an offer the Dallas Mavericks ended up getting in return for Luka, that Nico Harrison called the Timberwolves asking for Rudy Gobert and a first-round pick. Can you fucking imagine? Like, there's already a whole lot going on, and I guess I can comment on that. Mavericks fans getting kicked out of the arena for even presenting any level of anti-Nico Harrison sentiment, which, again, the word that I have been using constantly for how this front office has treated this situation is cowardly. I think the fact that they made sure this was under wraps until the trade was already official is super cowardly and bitch-made, and Nico Harrison, fuck you. That's my general takeaway on that front, but this is bad enough as it is when you got Anthony Davis, who's a top 10 player in the NBA. He did also immediately get injured, which we'll talk about in a Mavericks second channel video. But imagine how quickly the city of Dallas would catch on fire if Luka Doncic was traded for Rudy Gobert. That's the type of shit that I was already baffled by the notion, already baffled by the idea of Luka being moved. But if he was moved for Rudy Gobert, man, that would have been the funniest shit in the world. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? What are your? I specifically want to know the thoughts from Bucks and Timberwolves fans, how they feel about the fact that this trade allegedly almost would have gone down. Again, not 1,000,000% certain that this is actually real discussions that were had. Could just be this guy, Gary Wolfel. That's an interesting name, Gary. Maybe he's full of shit. But if it isn't, wow, what a hypothetical to think about, and one that I'm sure people are going to be thinking about for years. Man, why are we even here? Why am I recording this video right now? Why is this the reality we live in? I still don't believe it, but thank you very much for watching. If you're new to this channel, you haven't subscribed already, which is probably a lot of you, please be sure to do that. There's going to be videos coming out here pretty much daily. But yeah, see ya.